come on in, get settled in, get settled in. Look, I'm glad they gave us a little break. I'm glad they started the music, because after Jay asked that last question about how can the ladies help the men, I thought they were going to have to open up the exit doors. Y'all was about to go crazy, so I'm glad they brought it back in and gave us a reset, right? The ladies was like, look, we ain't doing no more emotional labor. We tired. How can we do what? But then after they told you what they needed, then you said, okay, I'm listening. I can do that. Yes, yes. Look at all of these beautiful faces in here. How are you guys feeling? Yes. Have you learned something today? That is what's most important. And let me tell you, if you don't know anything else, when you leave here today, I want you to recognize how important your mental health is. How important it is. And I constantly tell folks, we all have mental health. What we don't all have is mental wellness. Hello, somebody. Hello. And if you don't know what I mean, I want you to know that 1 in 4 people in 2020 had a diagnosable mental illness. 1 in 4. So if you can just look around and look at the person to your left, look at the person to your right, and it's not for you to go, it ain't me, it's you. Or some of y'all are going, Spirit, please talk to them, because I brought them hoping that y'all would help them, right? But I want you to understand how serious it is. And when we talk about mental health, you hear us talk about trauma. Trauma, when we're saying heal, what are we talking about? We're talking about that trauma. And one of our brothers, I love it, he says when we talk about trauma that so many of us have trauma in our bodies and we don't even know what it is. We call it decontextualized trauma. We're traumatized people and we don't even know what's wrong with us. And so what he says, this is Resma Minikim, he says that trauma decontextualized within a person looks like personality. Hello, somebody. The trauma decontextualized within a person looks like personality. Your family has probably told you, your friends have probably told you probably told yourself, I've been this way my whole life. You've always been quiet. You've always been anxious. So you've always been just a little depressed. No, that's that trauma. That's that surviving your father not being in the home, or your parents getting a divorce, or the sexual abuse trauma that we don't talk about, or the heartbreaks and everything else that you're carrying in your body that we don't know what it is, so it looks like personality. And then he says the trauma decontextualized within a family looks like family traits. Think about your mom, your grandma, your great-grandpa. They say, well, we don't know why Big Mama was like that. She was just quiet. She didn't say, I love you, but we knew that she loved us. How you know? Well, she kept food on the table. Grandpa brought the check home, right? Trauma decontextualized within a family looks like family traits. And then here it is. Let this one settle in. The trauma decontextualized within a people looks like culture. Ooh, hello, somebody. Let it marinate. Right, so as we talk about trauma, I want you to remember that as we're talking about healing. What are you healing? When you heal yourself, you're healing your family, you're healing your people, you're healing the legacy, you're healing future generations. So you have to do something now that future generations will thank you for. And let's not forget the children, because 50%, hello, I need y'all to hear this, 50% of all mental illness develops before the age of 14, and 75% before the age of 24. So when you're sitting there thinking, these kids don't have problems, they don't know nothing, I'm over here trying to keep the lights on, I don't have time to be worried about them, remember that you were probably dealing with trauma in childhood. And anybody want to take a guess how long it takes from the time a person has symptoms that tell us that they're dealing with mental illness before we actually see them in therapy, if they're lucky? Anybody? 3 years, 2 years, 11 years. 11, if we ever see you. So I want you to recognize that many of you in this room have trauma in your body that nobody knows about, that you cry out about, that they may have told you, take it to the prayer closet. Just hold on to it, give it to Jesus. And I love to say you can have Jesus and a therapist. Because even Jesus wept, didn't he? And child, if you stronger than Jesus, go on and stand up right now, because we need some hem of the garments, okay? Okay, so I just want you to know as I bring these folks to the stage, because we talked about everybody else healing, but we have not talked about our black women healing. And ladies, come on, ladies. Come on. All the emotional labor, right? Because black women are not just holding down our families, we're holding down nations. It's all on our backs, constantly. And we don't get to cry out about it because we ain't got time. We got to get to the carpool lane. We got to get dinner done. We got to get to the office. And then we got to come home and swing from the chandeliers and act like none of it matter. Hello, can't nobody hear me, but you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So we're going to talk about all of it today, okay? And I want to bring some fabulous, incredible names to this stage that you know and love, because one of the things that you hear us talking about as we talk about wellness, we talk about therapy, but only therapy is therapy. Okay, I want you to understand. Folks go, music is my therapy. Nah, that's therapeutic. Exercise is my therapy. Nah, that's therapeutic. But therapeutic is necessary to heal. So I want you to know that therapy is only one part. And I get that most of y'all will not sit in my chair. You won't sit in Jay's chair. You won't sit in none of our chairs. Because black folks don't have no problems. Never let them see you sweat. You don't let them see you cry. Hold your head up, throw your shoulders back, keep on walking, get them red bottoms tight, keep that hair right, keep them nails right. You will have a mani-pedi every week and won't ever have sat in my chair. And that's the way it works. But that's okay. Because that mani-pedi can also be therapeutic. So we're going to talk about everything that is and everything that is not in this panel today, okay? All right, so let's come on, y'all. Okay, so coming to the stage, let me introduce, and I really feel like none of them need any introduction, but let me start with Columbia University trained psychologist, intergenerational trauma expert, and author, Dr. Mariel Bouquet. Come on, y'all, give it up for her. Hello, gorgeous. Also, you all know her already. She is the master well-being educator. She is the certified multimodality healer and entrepreneur, Devi Brown. And I tell you, you know they need no introduction, especially this one, because don't she be giving it to them? She's serving the people, right? Every single place she goes. Award-winning host, social justice advocate, lawyer, commentator, and self-described empowerment tour, Miss Angela Raye. Yes, thank you ladies so much for joining us. And listen, so we're talking about wellness, so I want to jump right in because I want to know from you all, why do you think, as we're talking about women's wellness in particular, why is it so important for women especially to manage our mental health?
I want to hear from the people who helped to heal me.
You know, I think historically, if we look at human history, we've been living in a patriarchy for a couple thousand years, which means the emotional, mental labor that women have being in charge with nourishing their households, with being in the world and working. We have had immense amount of pressure, and especially in different ways than men. I think historically, the pressure on men is about providing. It's about a strength, which has its own exhaustion. But for women, it's always been placed upon us that we are always meant to care for, heal, be there for, feed, clothe, martyr ourselves in so many ways for not just our families, but the community. And rarely, if ever, are we told to do any of that for ourselves. So the way we show up in the world historically is just so different. It requires so much of our mental and emotional in a way that isn't always the same as men.
Either of you want to chime in?
Yeah. So I think that it's all of that, and any black woman that steps outside of her home and even within her home is always at the intersection of identities that are marked by racism, sexism, and many other isms, you know, as you add intersections to her identities. And so, you know, there's so much that's being held as far as trauma, as far as experiences within each of those isms. So there's so much that is being held in the Black woman's body, in her mind, as a result of, you know, just having those experiences at every turn. It's like you can't take off your identities, you just walk with them everywhere you go. So there's all of that that adds weight. And when you add the historical perspective, there's the generational weight that Black women are holding with them each and every single day. So the Black women that have been a part of their lives, they're also holding the generational emotional weight of those women from the previous generations. And so their cells, their bodies, their minds are all carrying that in the present moment. So wherever they go with all of that, right? And so there's just so much that we need to really attend to in terms of Black women's mental health in reference to the generational piece and in reference to how much they carry by way of all of their intersecting identities.
I love that Dr. Mariel just talked about all of the pressure intergenerationally that we experience. And I think the thing that occurred to me in this moment was there are three things that really stand out to me for Black women intergenerationally, and that is pressure, that is pleasing, and that is performing. Right? We are always going into spaces with all of that. And I really want to shout out Devi and Dr. Mariel because they are exhibiting what it means to embody something very different, to not only break generational curses for future generations, but also for their peers. That's us. And so what I would encourage all of us to do is, as we navigate this world, understand that we have the ability, we are enough, we are worthy enough to be able to break the cycle of the pressure to perform, that also results in the people pleasing, that constant you have to do for everybody else before you do for yourself. We have nothing left to give if we continue that cycle, and we know that it's very dangerous.
You know, and I think to that point, it's so important for us to recognize how many things are constantly challenging our mental health, right? We don't think about all of these different things. And so to that point, I want to ask you guys, in your own experiences, what are a few of the biggest threats to women's mental health at the moment? You think about everything that's happening in our society, everything that's happening in our homes. What are a few of those challenges? And in what ways do you think that we as women can protect ourselves against them? Oh yeah, I'm hitting with you. We got y'all today, so I want to know.
You know, I think for women, one of the things, and I'm not saying this as a diagnosis, but we have to break out of codependence. And we have to break out of this performative martyrdom. And there's no shame in it. You know, we arrive at these behaviors and these kind of experiences in our relationships because we're a sum of all of our parts. We're a sum of our lived experience, which is really complex for so many of us. It's so layered. It's not just one thing. It is everything. And then it's the daily things. But that element, especially with women, because we have been trained for centuries to be these martyrs that don't care for themselves, women are dying. Our bodies are breaking down. Women die younger than men. New developments in chronic illnesses like multiple sclerosis, you know, studies are showing that that's because of sexual abuse and different traumas. Information like that is coming out. If you have fibromyalgia, it's typically, or lifelong body pain that doctors can't figure out, it's typically because you experienced a trauma, or you had an abusive relationship, or you had a shock that you were never allowed to necessarily speak about or did not have care for. That stat, about 11 years, you go your whole lives in pain and never once stop to say, is there another choice? Is there something else for me in this life? And so, you know, a lot of toxic programming around staying in relationships we should leave. A lot, let that sit.
Look, some folks was just like, woo, don't
right?
come for me now.
A lot of the systems that equate trauma, pain, abuse with, well, relationships are hard work. No, they shouldn't have to be. Relationships should have ease. The work is for the betterment, but you should be at stable foundation and you work for more. You don't work from being underground up. So when we look at the ways that our relationships move in our lives, when we look at the ways our behavior look, we can just pause and say, why am I feeling so anxious in this interaction? Take a breath. It doesn't mean anything is wrong with you or them, but women have not historically been allowed to slow down enough, I think, to really investigate the ways that we can make different choices.
That's good.
It's crazy, Deb, because, yes, please give her a hand. When you just talked about taking a breath, I can think about the journey for me to get there to just take a breath. And to me, I feel like for Black women, we've looked at breathing even like that's a privilege. You know, like we were used to just the pressure that just sits here. And when people say take a breath, there's something in you initially that's like, I can't. You know, like I can't take that extra time to slow down and breathe. I have too much on my plate. I'm managing too much. I'm navigating too much. And I think that goes right back to the panels that the brothers just did that, by the way, was phenomenal.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. They talked about, somebody on the panel said, turn post-traumatic stress into post-traumatic growth. And it's an amazing concept, but it also is one that we will associate with privilege. We assume that to be healed is going to take a lot of resources. And I can tell you just honestly, in my own healing journey so far, it's taken a lot of resources. But that doesn't mean it has to. There are a number of things that we can do to make and democratize platforms of healing so that you can start down your path of post-traumatic growth. One thing I also want to address is just the number of things that we're dealing with. For Black women in society, we're dealing with having to make sure that our kids can survive an interaction with the police. We're dealing with the pressure of, I want to vote, I barely got candidates I want to vote for, but when I get there, can I vote? Because are you going to tell me I'm not registered? That's voter suppression. We're dealing with people that want to be all up in the womb space, right, and tell you what to do with your body, but let us go and put out a law that says they're going to have to cut off Viagra.
Ain't gonna happen. Come on.
Not ever.
Come on.
And so there are all of these things where it feels like there is an attack just on you being here, but you matter. You're supposed to be here. You are enough and you are worthy of that breath.
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
Can I?
Please, please, please.
First of all,
Please.
wow. Can I follow? Would you guys mind if I take 1 minute to follow up so we can speak to just that, sis? We can all calm down in the small moments. Would everyone give me a moment to do a breath with me?
Yes.
Yeah? I want to invite everyone that connects to the sound of my voice to get a little more comfortable in the chair that you're sitting in. So that could look like uncrossing your legs or your arms, letting your purse just gently be on the ground if you're comfortable with that. And now bring your body into a position where your spine is strong. It's straight and it's strong. And your belly is soft. And now drop your shoulders. Release your hips. Release your jaw. Gently close your eyes. If it's comfortable, bring your left hand to your heart center. And just now, with your eyes gently closed, I want you to notice how your heartbeat feels under your hand, how your breath feels moving in and out of your body at its natural pace. And if your heart is fast or slow or right on time, don't judge it. You're just noticing your body. And I want to invite you now to take a deep breath in through your nose for 4 seconds. I will count beginning now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold that breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Slowly release through your nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now take a big inhale through your nose. Hold it. Release with a sigh through your mouth. And bring into your awareness your intention for being here today. What do you want to feel? What do you want to know? And invite in 2 questions into your awareness here. Who am I being called to become? Who am I being called to become? And the next is an intention that I hope you'll allow yourself to unfold in over the next 4 seasons, the next year. God, please show me the truth of who I am. God, please show me the truth of who I am. And releasing both of those questions. No need to fill them with answers yet. Connecting back to a natural, nourishing breath. Coming alive in your seat with a light wiggle if that feels good. And gently opening your eyes. How do you feel?
Amazing.
Yeah.
For a lot of folks, half of them went to sleep, huh? You're not used to feeling that relaxed, are you?
So
And
that
listen,
took 2 minutes. What we just did, I watched the clock. It was between 1 minute and 30 seconds and 2 minutes. It dramatically changes the structure of your body, your mind, your heart. That's something you can do on the train. That's something you can do while you're waiting for something. That's something you can do in between meetings or work, on your way to pick up your child. 1.5 minutes. It will change everything. And slowly over time, it teaches you to slow down. It teaches you to notice and observe. So take that with you, please. Thank you.
That's so great.
That's
Thank
free
you.
Devi vibes,
Thank you.
okay? That's serious. Thank you, Dev.
And you know,
So
what's so
grateful for you.
incredible about the breath is oftentimes what we don't realize is that when we are in fight or flight, when we're activated, we are unable to take a deep breath. And so if you can just slow your body down enough, you automatically cue to your nervous system that everything is okay, and you will automatically be able to bring some of that anxiety down.
Yes.
So that's incredible.
And
That is
300
incredible.
of those repetitions actually creates structural change inside of your body where your body defaults to it, where you no longer have to do that. That was amazing. I'm so grateful for you. And every time you do something like that, I'm like,
I love it. Come on. It's all connected. It's all
so
connected.
amazing. I feel so good.
Yeah, it feels wonderful. So let me ask you, because that's a big part of that, and before I brought you guys out to the stage, I did say, you know, that only therapy is therapy, but the therapeutic piece is we can heal ourselves in so many ways. And so I did want to ask each of you, what are some activities outside of therapy or counseling that women might be able to engage in that might be beneficial to our mental health and wellness?
Yes.
Meditation,
Come
download
on.
the Chopra app.
Come on.
Extensions of meditation too. I mean, there's yoga. If you're working through some trauma, there's trauma-informed yoga. There's Tai Chi, which y'all know I'm like such a big fan of because it actually helps you to release some of the trauma tension inside of your body in a very specific way. There's also, there's different kinds of meditations. Like for me, I'm a busy mind, so I need to walk and meditate. So walking meditations, sound bath meditations, which I frequently do. There's so many variations of how we can actually engage in a meditative practice that, I think it's about just taking those 2 minutes. It's about actually deciding that, that you are worthy because you are of taking those minutes for yourself, for your family, for your community, because it extends forward. It becomes a ripple effect. When you decide to take those moments for yourself, you step into your family, into your community, into all the spaces that you inhabit, being a different person with a more settled nervous system. And with those repetitions of these meditative practices, you actually restructure your brain. Like your brain actually ignites the emotion centers that are going to be really healthy for you in the long term. So when people come to me and they're like, well, what do I do, Dr. Mariel? What you do is these things. You do this and therapy and church and all of it, right? Like anything that fuels your healing in some way.
I wasn't joking when I said these 2 women have been a critical part of my healing journey. So I'm gonna make you talk about stop in a minute, please. But one other thing, Dev is a major proponent. We should try to get you an Epsom salt collab
An
deal. No,
endorsement.
in real life.
Any
But she
Epsom salt
is.
people here?
She
Maybe there's
swears
a-
by baths, and every time I'm like, if I'm spiraling and having a meltdown, Debbie's like, you need to get in the bath. And she's right. Queen Afua is the same way about these baths is so important. There's another thing that I have that's a little more swanky. I'm about to turn it over to you. But a little more swanky. There's this mat called the higher dose mat that I swear by. I spend way too much time on that mat. But the ions and the way that it moves energy through your body is amazing. And then I think the last thing that I do religiously, and I started when I froze my eggs at 37, is listen to spa music going to sleep every night. And it's super helpful. I'm a very naturally anxious person. These two are not because they know that well, but they have some really good tips that I hope they will tap into.
And you know, the science behind the bath, because when I was younger, when people would be like, self-care, take a bath. Like, what? My life is crazy and painful, and what do you who sits in a bath? Like, you know, you definitely think in your culture that's not necessarily something that everyone is doing, but the way that it really informs your body, if you have time and are able, the Epsom salt helps detoxify you. So that is a natural regulator for your body. Being submerged in a warm body of water is a natural regulator from your body. The salt also allows you to have some buoyancy in the water. So it brings you into a state of somatic surrender without even trying, because your body can just, right, that feeling of just being slightly weightless allows more light to enter and more lightness of being. But meditation is paramount, and I know that word has a lot of connotation to it and a lot of misunderstanding. Meditation is not just, I'm so zen, look at me, I'm a Buddha's head, and that's for a certain kind of a person. Meditation is essential because your brain has to have opportunities to restore itself. Your brain has to have an opportunity to slow down. And meditation does not have to be perfect. Closing your eyes for a minute is enough. Taking a walk with intention, saying, I'm gonna hold silence for myself as I walk around the block today, can change your life. Another very simple way, especially if you're in a big city like New York, elemental energy. Connecting to moments of beauty, connecting to moments of being able to visually see something green. It sounds so simple that it can almost make you want to roll your eyes like, nah, you don't know what I've been through. What is looking at a tree going to change about my life? It will change everything, because it will bring you into a state of acceptance of yourself and your life, so that you can turn that into creative energy and you can make all the changes you deserve to make in your life. Practices are essential. Therapy is a massive part of the journey, but you can't just stay in your head, specifically if you're doing cognitive therapy. You have to do more than therapy to change your life. You have to. It is not just one thing. It's a holistic view. You have to bring it into your heart and your body, and it can be easy and it can be fun.
Absolutely. So essential. So essential. And I think if you think about, you know, the concept of meditation, a big part of it is allowing yourself to be in the present moment without shifting, right? And you can shift, you know, and that's invited, but there is something about just inviting in the present where, you know, if you think about some of the more common conditions that we see in the mental health world, that being like depression and anxiety. Depression is hyper-focusing on the past, and anxiety is hyper-focusing on the future. It's worry about the future and what could happen. So when you shift to that present-centered mindset, it allows you an opportunity to really shift away from either one of those and be more and more in a state of calm and ease and less in a depressive and an anxious state, which is really, really wonderful about meditation.
I love that. Well, if I can squeeze in this one more question as we think about that going forward kind of way that you're talking about, Dr. Bouquet, what is your hope for women and our wellness as we go forward? We talk about all of the social justice. We talk about all the healing, all the heavy lifting, all the things that all of these women are doing and all the men that love them are doing. What is your one wish for our wellness as we go forward?
That we could step into the role of cycle breaker. It's a tough role to step into, but it's one that we must do in this generation. And I truly do believe that we're in the generation of cycle breakers. And it takes taking a moment like the 2 minutes that Devi offered us. It takes taking that back home. It takes taking that into the workplace, into community, and deciding like the cycle ends with me.
Can you do the STOP acronym though for everybody?
I knew you were going to come back to that. Yes, so STOP is actually, it's a practice that allows us to not engage in behavior that can actually be relationship destroying. Oftentimes when we're in an activated state in that fight or flight that Dr. Spirit mentioned, we are in an elevated state where our whole body is thrusted forward to try and protect us. We're like, rah, must protect, right? Because we see the other person as a threat. Like, they're coming for me, I'm coming for them, right? And so if you can actually take a moment to do this practice, it allows you an opportunity to be reflective and then go back into the situation from a more steady place. So STOP itself, it stands for stop, like stop, don't do that, right? Like whatever it is that you were thinking of doing, don't do it. Whatever it is you were thinking of saying, it's gonna be destructive, don't do it. Then T is take a breath. And taking a breath is something that needs to happen for a period of 2, 3, 5 minutes or more. It's not, okay, I'm done. It's not that. It's, you have to allow your nervous system to catch up and say, okay, we are now in a relaxed body. So that's take a breath. The O is observe, meaning that you just have to scan the environment. What happened? And you're thinking about it without judgment. And then P is proceed mindfully. Go back in, now you're steady, and now you're not gonna destroy this relationship where you're coming in with a steady mind and a nervous system that's regulated.
Oh, they're going to have to get that somewhere. Huh? They're going to have to write that down. And what about for you, Devi?
My hope. My hope is that women will find the opportunity to slow down enough to look at the entirety of who they are. We get so deeply embedded in playing different roles for other people, all kind of roles. Probably everyone you know, there is a role of some kind that you play for them. And my hope is that women have more opportunities as they engage in these life-changing, life-supportive practices, because this is the piece. When you get to a healing, when you get to an awareness, you have to build structure in your life that will support the healing. It is not, ooh, that's why I do that. Okay, and then life is grand. It's daily regulation, it's noticing, it's now making different choices in every moment because of that awareness. And that's what practices support. So I hope for all women everywhere that they're able to slow down enough to really get connected to what do I want, what do I deserve, and how am I able to show up for me first? And no, it's okay to cut people off.
Come on. Come on.
It's okay to shed people. It's okay. You have to be loyal to your own soul first.
Yes.
Come on.
Before you get wrangled into anybody else's idea of you of loyalty or what you should be doing for someone else, be loyal to your soul. Be loyal to your call. Get still enough so you can hear that voice tell you who you are and what you should really be doing with this very short life that we've all been gifted.
Amen. Come on. Forgiveness does not mean future access. Come on. Dr. Bouquet. Oh, go ahead, Angela. Go ahead.
If I may.
Please.
My wish for you all, Black women, Black men, Black siblings in the audience, is that you give yourselves permission to grow. Even today when I was introduced, it was about me gathering people and getting people together. That's not my mission in life. I want to get you together, but not the way I had to in Mortal Kombat on air, right? I want to give you all permission to continue to evolve and becoming the best and highest versions of yourself, like I'm giving myself permission to.
Amen.
And the last request I would have of you is that you give yourself the grace when you fall short, and that you do the same for me.
Yes.
Oh, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful. And my hope for everyone is that you do one thing every day for yourself that your future self will thank you for. And you've already started today. So keep it going, okay? Dr. Bouquet, Debbie Brown, Angela Raye, thank you guys so much for blessing us with your wisdom, with your gifts every day, not just today. Thank you. Give it up for them, you guys. Give it up.